up, family? I'm listening to, I should turn it down a little bit. I am listening to a very old song of mine. God, it's almost 20 years old now, called Beautiful, off of my first record. Hello, hello, beautiful and brilliant people. Hey, DRs. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, we're ready already. Let's do it. Are you in here, Liz?
Hey!
It's always so good to see you, my love. How are
It's
you
so
this
good to
beautiful
see you
day?
too. I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. Yeah. How
How
about
many days
you?
do we have? How many days do we have?
We have 19 days
19
left.
days.
19 days left to vote. You have
Yes.
19 days to vote. I think a lot of times previous elections we would say you have election day is this day, but it's election season.
And we have
Exactly.
19 more days in election season, which is super exciting.
Exactly.
So before we
Exactly.
jump in, let's, for everybody who is tuning in for the first time today, or maybe this is the only video that they have the time to see, I want to give folks a little bit of background on Civics 101, and then I want you to remind people who you are and what you do and why you are here. So.
Great.
My name is Jennifer Johns. I am the founder of the F.U.N Manifesto. Many of you guys know me as a singer and musician, but my love for humanity trumps it all. So, and so the F.U.N Manifesto, which stands for Free You Now, is really about sharing ideas of freedom and inspiration and love and joy. And so Civics 101 is a project of the F.U.N Manifesto, and I am super excited to be partnered this season with Haven, which was founded by my girl Ryan Nicole, and she is yet another fierce artivist, activist, badassery that the town makes, because that's all that we make. And she founded this project that is really about presenting and sharing ideas around housing, and again around freedom and love and abundance. And so, as I was saying before, what I know for sure is that this time is the time that we get to say that we lived through the change, that we created the change, that we manifested the change, that we worked together. And so Haven and the F.U.N Manifesto are so excited to be in conversation with Liz yet again, because she's a badass and she's so smart and she knows stuff and she tells us stuff. And we're more confident in the world because Liz tells us stuff. So tell us who you are.
My name is Liz Huck. I'm the political director at Oakland Rising Action. I am from Oakland, Deep East. I'm a single mom of 2 kids, and just been doing this grind for a really long time, working in grassroots and nonprofit organizations for a while, and not only here in the U.S. but with solidarity work to Korea and all that work across the world. So really happy to be here today, and so excited. I really loved this conversation when we did it the other day. And I've just been enjoying the conversations we've been having with Tanya Love and with Ryan Nicole. And it's just been really fun. I've just enjoyed these conversations. It's been really good to be a part of it. So thank you for including me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's so important for us to exemplify just the type of sisterhood, like making it simple, you know what I mean? Like, this is how I would reach out to someone in community and be like, can someone please explain to me, what's going on in our government? And that's what I mean by we create badasses, like the level of camaraderie that's just natural for sisters in the way that we communicate. And they say that, you educate a woman, you educate a community. So let's jump right on in, sis. We're talking today about the roles in government, darling.
Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun.
So tell me,
So,
the three branches.
yeah, so today, for this election, we have quite a few things that are coming up on the ballot that are proposition measures and elected
Oh, I'm
officials.
losing you.
Oops.
You've been
Do, do, do.
backing out
Is
a
that
little bit.
better?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. It's because my kids are all online right now too with
Mm-hmm.
school, so the internet might be
A little slow.
iffy, and it's windy outside, so it feels like there's going to be some problems. And Mercury in retrograde, which just means to be gentle with ourselves, right?
Okay.
And forgiving. So this election, we have, the presidential election, we've got Senate seats, we've got Congress seats on the federal level. And then locally in the state of California, we have legislature seats, we have, the state assembly seats, we have, and we have some propositions that are on the ballot. And then locally in Oakland, in Alameda County, we have a couple supervisor seats. I don't think any that pertain to Oakland, but definitely at the county level, there's some. There's AC Transit, there's BART, there's a few other elected positions in that realm, including judicial seats. And then in Oakland, we have districts 1, 3, 5, and 7, as well as rep at large for city council. And those city council, and then for the school board district in Oakland, we also have districts 1, 3, 5, and 7 that are also up for election. And why are these so important, right? Oftentimes we think about like who this person is and what they're going to do for us. And I really want to have a conversation about how we're talking about what that shift could mean. And the shift in thinking around it. So oftentimes, like I went to this one event where this elected was in the room talking to families about what they were going to do as a newly elected person, and everybody's like, "What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do for us?" And I was like, "This is not my frame of reference." So I said, so you have a room full of about 60 people here. What are you going to do with your office to organize us? Right? What are you going to do to advance a agenda that, includes us, but takes care of Black and brown folks in this city?
Yes.
And then, their answer was, mediocre. They said, well, you should go talk to all the other city council, or you should go talk to the other electeds in this situation. And I was like, I regret voting for you now, because you said, you put out there that you were a community organizer, and you're not. You're actually a politician. And so I think that this is the clear piece around why it's so important to think about the electeds that you do put into office and your engagement with them. We talked about the other day that your vote is not the last thing. Right? It's just the beginning.
Yes.
So, and actually, I would say it's actually the first part of the conversation. So for us, like at Oakland Rising and at Oakland Rising Action, we go through an endorsement process, right? And so we start talking to candidates really early on. We do interview, we do a questionnaire, and we see what values alignment we have with these folks. And we ask critical questions, and we push really hard on them to answer those questions for us. And that for us is just one piece of, then we move to, we give you the endorsement, then you move into being a candidate. And how do we talk to each other? How do we work together so that you can win based on the values, and we continue to call you out on what those values are and the platforms and the way that you're showing up in the community on your campaign trail. And then once you get elected, how are we co-governing together? Right? So this is like a thread. It's not like a do this one thing and then this thing happens and then this thing's happen. It's not a series of, it is a like domino effect. It is.
And it's a relationship. It's a full-on relationship. And I think that we just have not been acclimated to the idea that that's a thing, right? That it's a relationship. So my question, I had a friend of mine called me today, Dr. Misha Mosley, and she asked me, well, then how are people maintaining tabs? And how do you know who to trust to follow? So what you're talking about there, right, is this whole idea of maintaining contact, having these relationships and consistency. And so many folks are working parents, single parents,
Exactly.
are so very busy. And so now you understand that there are three branches of government. You understand that they show up in these different places. Okay, now you've read all of the propositions and the measures, and you see what's on the ballot, and you voted for what you believe in, and so forth. And you've given yourself all of that work, just catching up. Like, so many people I know are like, I'm so glad that you've done this, because on like Halloween night, I'm going to start cramming for the test, right?
No, gotta vote early, vote
Right.
early.
I know, but let's just, I mean, like, let's also, you know,
For real, that's
right?
real.
And so folks are like, and now I've voted.
Right. Now what?
And how am I supposed to keep tabs while raising
Yeah.
kids and cooking all this food and
Word.
going to work and paying my bills that are too hard to pay in Oakland as is?
Exactly, exactly. And you know, I think that one of the ways that folks can do that is follow Oakland Rising and Oakland Rising Action, because we keep tabs on them, right? There are coalitions of organizations, both grassroots, like community-based organizations, and nonprofit organizations, and just like coalitions of people who are working on issues. And so it's like thinking about, what are the issues that are important to you?
Right.
How are they impacting your life? And then being able to engage in Oakland Rising Action and Oakland Rising, we keep tabs on the electeds. We make demands based on racial, economic, and environmental justice, right, for our communities, for the Black and Brown folks that live in the flatlands of East and West Oakland, right? And this is because we have a collaborative of organizations through Oakland Rising that are working in communities. So if rent control is really an issue for you, if being a formerly incarcerated person, being unhoused, or the issue around housing in Oakland is really important to you, then you can follow these organizations as we put it out there. Follow us on. This is the great thing that is very different than I think in years past, right? Social media, we're able to put this out there. There's some great folks to follow, and you have one of them on yesterday, Tanya Love. She's great to follow on Instagram. She's great to follow on Twitter. She's great to follow because there are folks who are following these things for you. They've made it their work. They've made it their passion. So you can see and align yourself with the folks that align with the values that are important to you and impact your life, right? And then be open to hearing, because a lot of folks in the community would be like, yeah, I'm down for racial and economic justice, but I'm not down for cutting the police, right? So let's have a conversation about that. Like, let me be able to engage you in a conversation about why defunding is racial justice, right? Why that's important to our community, and what does that mean? And so, you know, in the age of social media and the pace of news that we move at now, it's really easier to follow those things. And then also, if you signed up like on our newsletter, you would hear about those things, because we're constantly moving on it. We're constantly engaging.
And, you know, I think that, you know, part of what we're looking to do, both through the F.U.N Manifesto and through Haven, and just, you know, the artivists that we are, both myself, Ryan, Nicole, Kev Choice, you know, people that are kind of in our sector, is we really believe in leveraging art for social change. And it's not just about showing up and singing, but being an artist translator. And I think that just continuing to say that I want to lend my voice in that way, but also that we have to have pundits. Like, we need to have, I was talking to Tanya about this yesterday, that we need to have a consistent voice and face that we trust. Some people just really trust Don Lemon. Like, they just think that whatever he's gonna say, that he's already synthesized it for them, and they just think that, okay, so I'm gonna rock with that, right?
Yeah.
And that comes with whatever it comes with. But on the local level, right? Like, these are people that we can touch and we can talk to and we can ask real questions, like I'm
Yes.
asking you real questions. So let's keep moving. I want to
Yes.
talk about the roles that are in government. So if you have taken a civics class in 7th grade, you found out that there were 3 branches of government.
Right.
And then you probably forgot what they were. And then you maybe got told again for like a semester, maybe in your senior year, but really your hormones were going crazy. And you needed to do other more mischievous things than pay attention to government class. I'm telling on myself. Anyways, so
a little bit.
right? And then you went on to be an adult and you thought that you could only vote for one day because they did such a shitty job of educating you in the first place or making it interesting or any of those things. And so today, can we just review these 3 branches of government and how they show up?
Right. I need to handle something for schooling. So
Yes,
give me
Mom.
one second. There you go. Okay, so at the federal level, we have the presidential with executive, we have the judicial, and then we have the congressional, right? And so at the presidential level, we all know how that works, right? So the president it's supposed to be sort of this balanced government that then checks each other. It's supposed to be like checks and balances.
Yep.
How checks and balances that is depends on who's in office, really, and who's holding control and power. So the president gets to, like, say, for example, they are the commander-in-chief. They can lead the entire military force into war. But he can't take us to war, and I'm saying he because up until now they've been all he's, that he just can't take us to war. They need the congressional vote, right? They need the vote from the Senate and the Assembly. And so this is why that's important in that realm, is to be able to vote and know who your federal congressional representatives are. So in California, we get 2 senators. Across the country, every state gets 2 senators. And then for representatives, in Congress, it depends on your how large your population is, right? And so then it's weighed out in that way. So
and
in
that's
California,
the legislative branch, correct?
That's the legislative branch.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
That's the
So executive is president, vice president, cabinet. And then legislative would be the Congress, the Senate. And the House.
Exactly. So Congress is the House and the Senate combined, right? Those are 2 together. Right. And then you have the judicial branch, which is the folks who then, the Supreme Court is 9 Supreme Court justices who sit there, and then they decide whether laws are being abided by to the Constitution or not.
Right.
And that person, any one of those justices, are chosen by the president and then are approved by the Senate of the Congress, right, to vote. So it's important because if you have a very conservative, right-wing president in office, then you are more likely to get a very conservative-minded justice. So we're going through that process right now. So it's important also to see that because in the Senate right now, it is dominated by Republicans, and they're trying to push through this justice seat. And so
knowing that next term, they're expecting a blue wave and the likelihood that we would have
in Congress.
In
Congress. That it's likely because right now, and so that's why it's really important to weigh in on some of the federal things, because if you have someone who is, looking at the law or at Constitution in the same framework that, say, our founding, I don't want to say fathers, but the founding people of this country, right, that it's just in a time capsule, and that time hasn't changed and society hasn't changed at all. And so
Right.
the laws are just stagnant. They're stuck in that time period, right? That's applicable to today. That then if we had folks like that in the justice, then the laws of the land that then go resonate out to like states, and how federal law is conducted across this country is impacted. So this is why it's really important not only to have a president, because that president can take us to war, right? Congress can decide whether they're going to take us to war, or who they might put into these judicial powers. So it's supposed to be a checks and balances, but if you have it skewed to one side or to one other side, right, generally it can go one way or the other.
And it's so important to understand how the three branches of government work together for the sake of checks and balances, like you said, because say, for instance, you have, an attorney general that doesn't really believe that Black Lives Matter, right?
Right.
And then you have, so then the way that the way that the law and order is perceiving the law, right, is right, but you have some power over that, right? And then, at the congressional level, if you have a Congress that has a bunch of ownership in steel or, weapons and so forth,
or prisons,
and seeks to benefit from violence against humanity, right? Then they may not choose things for the education system, right, that is going to do anything that will liberate the minds of people. They may help to decide things like for example, one of the reasons why our current ways of collecting information and why we have to have local pundits and local people who are having conversations is because our media is owned, all of it is owned by essentially the same people, right? So CNN and Fox News are still owned by Viacom, which is still owned by Vanguard, which is still the number 2 investor in the prison industrial complex. And prior to 96 or I think 97, there was a law that said that we could not own, any one person, family or whatever could not own more than, I believe it was 3 newspapers, 3 radio stations, right? 3 publications in each market. For the reason that the human mind creates what it imagines, right?
Exactly.
And so we're not, it's so important for us to understand the system that we live in and not choose to feel oppressed by it, because we have power. And if you take black and white out of it, as painful and as hard as it is to look at the American government and country of origin and all of those things out of the conversation, and look at the idea of the way that the democracy or checks and balances is set up, it would work if it was worked. Are you there? Did I lose you? Oh. Uh-oh. Okay, now you're there. I see you now. Can you see me? Uh-oh. Did I lose you? Oh, are you there? Hello? Liz? Liz, do you want to log out and log back in?
Okay.
Uh-oh. Well, hopefully we get Liz back in. If you're just joining us, we were talking about, if you're just joining us, we are talking about the roles in government and the importance of being civically engaged and why. We just went over the basics of the 3 branches of government, legislative, executive, and judicial, and the importance of understanding how they work together so that we're not just looking at the executive branch. We're often just looking at the executive branch.
Yeah, and what's really important to this is that that Congress creates laws, and the president sometimes can veto them or approve them, and then Supreme Court then upholds them. So the Congress gets to decide what's legal or not legal, what's criminal or not criminal, right? So right now we have a Congress that believes, and an attorney general who believes that children who are crossing a arbitrary border are illegal and gets to lock them up, right? So this is really important and critical. I want to talk about, like, that's definitely at the federal level, but I want to also
Bring
get
it,
back
yeah.
to the local stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because that really is what, at the end of the day, can really impact your lives, because those are the ways in which, like, the federal government isn't telling cities how to run their cities,
Right.
right? They're not telling our states generally how to run their states. There's federal law that kind of like overarches all of that. We have state laws that overarches all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have like local county policies and right? And we also have local stuff. So in the city, we have city councils and we have the mayor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then at the county level, you have a board of supervisors. And those generally, you
So
know,
the
kind of,
mayor is executive, the city council is
it's like the legislative.
like legislative. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have court systems, but they're not generally like as linked as the federal level is,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so if you wanted to look at it as sort of what kind of arm of that is locally, is who's policing us and then who's putting us in jail.
And so so the executive branch in Oakland, the mayor,
Mm-hmm.
is elected. What's the
Yes.
difference? There's something called a strong mayor, and do you know about that?
Mm-mm. I've never
Okay,
heard this term.
we'll go over that in another session because it's
Okay.
actually really deep. So there is at the at the local level, the mayor has the power to hire and fire the chief of
Police chief.
police
Yep.
and the fire
Chief. Yeah.
chief, right?
Yeah.
So that's super important to understand in our local government. At the same time, though, we do get to vote on district attorneys, correct?
Yes, and that's at the
Yeah.
county level, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not this election. That will be in 2022.
Okay.
So in 2022, we'll have the mayor of Oakland, and not all cities are the same on the same track. So I know within Alameda County, there's like different folks. So you should look and see when your mayor is up for election or not, because those are all different. But in Oakland, the mayor is up for election in 2022, and then in 2022, we also vote in the sheriff and the district attorney at the Alameda County level.
Yep.
So in Oakland, we have city council races, and those are really critical, right? Because the rep at large usually sits, you know, within, I'm sorry, we also have the rep at large position that sees, you know, represents everybody across the city, and then we have district-wide city council members. And the council members decide on what kind of policies and procedures and, you know, ways in which the government is supposed to function. And then the mayor is supposed to make sure that it happens. And so one of the things that are really critical to us locally is that the mayor proposes a budget,
Mm-hmm.
and the city council then does a counter proposal, and they vote on whether that budget gets passed or not, right? And so it's critical because and then if, for example, even if the city council decides on a particular measure or something that is critical to the budget and how funds are allocated to programs and services, the mayor, whether the mayor does it or not, is up to them, right? So we have measures that got passed a few years ago that are still sitting. We're still waiting for implementation by the city.
Because the
Right?
mayor can choose when and how.
Yeah.
So, but isn't the whole point of the city council for oversight? Like,
And there are oversight commissions and boards and things like that. So again, this is the ways in which we can get involved locally, like personally. You can sit on a commission and board. But again, at the end of the day, those commissions and boards only can make recommendations. They can't actually move policy. So we can then put it out there and like talk to folks about it. And so this is why it's critical to also think about what's happening locally,
Yeah.
because if our city has policy about housing and evictions, because those are coming, y'all.
Right. Right.
After this pandemic is over, evictions are going to skyrocket. And because city council was able to pass an eviction moratorium, we are not seeing that happening right now.
Yeah.
But what does that mean for afterwards, right? So if you have a mayor that is backed by developers and by real estate, right?
Right.
How much is she going to be, or are they going to be a part of ensuring that we're not going to have this huge wave of evictions, right?
And
And
it's
so
important to elect people to city council right now who are going to hold their feet to the flame and are going to propose budgets and such that will support and protect us.
exactly, like defunding the police, right?
Yeah.
So folks should know this at least in Oakland, is that we're coming up we do a 2-year budget, and we usually do a mid-year budget review every year, and then there's amendments that get made.
Mm-hmm.
And we tried to propose some amendments that included a 50% cut to the OPD, the Oakland Police Department, and it didn't happen. That's a huge another conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But that we're actually right as this whole new set of city council members are coming in, we're going to be starting a budget process, because
Mm-hmm.
the mayor proposes a budget by the end of March. They talk about it in April, and there's amendments. The city council proposes a budget that then gets reviewed in April.
Right.
May there's conversation, and then by June we should have a new budget. So those conversations are really critical to us, because if we're talking about, we really need to see more resources in our communities that are going to stop the gun violence that is happening,
Right.
that happened like the other day, that we need to be sure that we are funding the right places in order to make that happen.
Well, first of all, we're going to have to tap in like once a month.
I'm
so
down.
so that folks know what's happening with the evolution of that budget. But
Yeah.
to just recap, so the city government, we're getting ready to go into a whole new budget cycle, and we have 3 seats on the city council, as well as 1 at-large seat that's up for re-election right now. And who we put into those seats are critical at this time, because we need people who are going to insist upon some major changes in this budget. And they get to vote on the budget, right? So if you've got 4 people who have values around housing justice, who have values around police reform, who have values around access to food, right? Like, those things matter in real time. So while we absolutely have to get the crazy orange Beetlejuice out of the White House, without question, what matters to your life today and right now are those things. You know what I mean? Those things are also, but primary, even like ahead of this, right? It is more important, right, that you can stay in your home, and that you're not left with months upon months upon months upon months upon rent, right? Creating debt for you for years to come, right? That you have people who are working in city government who understand that we have the money and the resources. It's here, right? But that they're willing to stand, and that they're willing to fight for you. And so it's so easy for us to feel as if we do not have power. We have power. Like your day-to-day life, and then therefore your ability to pay attention more to what's happening on a national or an international level grows exponentially when you know that you have a home to go to, you know that the police are not going to be supported in murdering you, and you know that your kids are going to be able to get something called an education that's culturally relevant, and that there's going to be actual food somewhere near you.
Exactly. And those are all very critical and important. So oftentimes folks will just vote, and they'll only vote for the president, right? And then they won't go all the way down the ballot. So this election, make sure that you're going all the way down the ballot. And in
Right.
California, it's actually several sheets, right? It
Mhm.
depending. So make sure that you're doing every single sheet, look at every single one of those. And if you need help looking for a voter guide that is based on racial, economic, and environmental justice, you can
Yeah.
go to oaklandrisingaction.org. If there's something there that's not covered under that voter guide, go to bayrisingaction.org. They have one that spans across the region. So you can look into those, and wherever you are locally, because I'm pretty sure that Jenn has fans all across this country. So look into those voter guides, because people put a lot of effort
Yeah.
into talking to folks, reading over stuff, doing the research. They might not get it all right, but at least you have a framework with which to make your decisions. And so these are critical to your life. It's really critical for us to also talk about these, because there are people who are unable to do that, right? Undocumented folks, folks who are formerly incarcerated,
Yes.
that are incarcerated currently, that can't vote, right? And that the disenfranchisement of our voters is real, and that we need to make sure that they have an opportunity and voice to make their voice heard.
Yeah, I think that it's in this voting season, which we have 19 days left in.
Yes,
So you
19
can vote
days.
now
Yes,
and you can keep voting. And we're going
yes.
to keep on talking about it until we're done voting and then some more.
I
It
have
is,
one I have one more plug, Jenn,
yes,
if you let me do that.
go,
Is
go, go,
that
go.
so we are holding so the 19th is the last day to register to vote online.
Mhm.
So, if you haven't registered to vote, check on your registration. And you can drop off your ballot if you're worried about it going into the USPS. There are ballot drop-off boxes across the county,
Yeah,
across, the state. And we are actually going to have a temporary drop-off box with Alameda County at 34th and International this
go.
Saturday.
34th and East
From
14th.
and it's for those new
And E1
folks.
fall.
Those new folks, they don't know, so you gotta say international.
Okay.
So she said, okay. So on the corner, it's at Restore Oakland, right in front. We're gonna
Go.
have a ballot box so you could drop it off. Come out, and if you're not registered vote, we're just gonna try to register vote folks on the street, and I'll be passing out our voter guide to other folks. So, come and join the party with us, and we'll be happy to see you there. And
And that's
hopefully,
the 19th.
no, this Saturday, what's the Saturday? The 17th.
17th. Okay, the 17th.
Yeah,
And the 19th is the last day to register to
it's the
vote
last
online.
to vote online. And even if you missed that in California, you can go to any polling place the day of and register to vote. You'll just
Yep,
get a provisional ballot.
exactly. Are you able to get provisional ballots during the season? Like say for instance you weren't registered to vote, but you are downtown and you're like, I'm just gonna do this right now. Could you walk in and do
You
that?
can walk in and they'll actually have it for you. Like they'll find the one that's right for you, because they're all separate sheets, and they go and find the one that's right for you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, what I wanted to say is that, we're creating relationships
Yes.
in the government that we're creating. We want people who
Yes.
represent who we are. We want our family,
Exactly.
we want our friends to be a part of it. And so it's important that we demystify what the
Totally.
civic experience is, so that we all know that we're capable of being engaged. We know that we're capable of making the changes that we want. And in doing that, you have to create relationships and have conversations with people that you trust. I trust
Yes.
Oakland Rising. I trust Tanya Love. So I like talking to those people. And if you're in Oakland, then I trust these people. Go research these people. There are other people who are doing similar things wherever you are. Go find the people that you can trust, that you can call up and say, hey, I'm confused about this or that.
Right.
Somebody whose voice and tone or the music that they wear, whatever it is, that you
Right.
can deal with once a month, every other week, whatever that
Mm-hmm.
is, so that you are civically engaged and create that relationship. Make that the place that you volunteer, because
Yep.
your life actually depends on it. Like,
Yes.
not kind of, not a little bit, not
Yes.
sometimes, but for real, your whole life depends on the way that our systems are governed.
Yep. For real, for real. Yeah, like, and so, and like you just said, it is about those relationships and building those relationships to co-govern with people. That
Yeah.
I think that is a real key piece,
Oh,
is
government.
that we're not just like voting people in, but it's like we need to be in relationship with people so that they actually hear us and that they're coming to us, that we're electing people who are willing to come to us,
Yes.
not waiting for us to just like call
Yes.
them up with a problem that we have, but that
Mhm.
they're engaging us in conversation about issues that really matter
That
to
they
us.
are us. How about
Yes.
that? How about that? How about we start electing us, the
Mm-hmm.
government, right? And we create a culture such that when we go and we get into office, we're not alone,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Like I think that there's such an idea, a cultural mishap that happens. It's kind of like the superstar in the family,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
right that and there's, I think, even a survivor's guilt fear that
Yes.
people have, which is why it's important to demystify civics, that people feel like I'm going to get there and then I'm not going to be with the people. So many people are afraid of going into politics because they're afraid that somehow magically you become a politician. And I think what really happens is that people with good hearts go into politics and then they're left there.
Yep.
Because we're not engaged, we don't have those relationships.
Yeah, and Oakland Rising, we do leadership for folks. So, I'm going to be talking to folks about this in 2021 so that we're prepping people for 2022 and beyond, right?
Yes.
And so, if you're interested in learning about what that means and being led with your values, particularly with racial, economic, and environmental justice, if that's important to you, hit me up, Liz at
Yes.
oaklandrising.org. I'm very happy to talk to you about like how we're going to build that leadership. So,
We heard
yeah.
it first, yo. Or maybe not first, but
Hey.
I'm just saying, yo, Liz just called you out. If you feel like you think that you could maybe
Yeah.
be of service to the community in this way, then you have a resource. That's so awesome. Thank you so
Yes,
much for your
yes,
work.
yes.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in yet again. Tomorrow is the last of this week. These conversations will continue. I'll be tapping in and talking more civics next week as well and through into the election because our lives depend on it. And so we make that time. I love you all so much. And if you have any questions at all, yet again, please DM me. You can also message Haven, follow Haven if you're not already, _1, Haven _. They are doing some incredible work. I cannot wait to share more of what's happening over there. And also, you can register to vote at thefunmanifesto.com. You can go to
Yay!
thefunmanifesto.com. And if you are not registered between now and what is that? Tuesday or Wednesday, you
In
can
California.
register to vote on thefunmanifesto.com. So do that
Yeah.
for all of us. Engage your civic responsibility. Make it fun. We love you. We'll see you tomorrow.